Good afternoon, this is Kuro. Number two's in the background, playing around so you guys may hear him off and on through the video. Going over the matchmaking. Uh, this is a Tier 4 match, and the ship requested was the Tier 3 German destroyer, the G101. And going over the enemy lineup, have an enemy Langley. Going ahead and start this real quick. Got a bunch of cruisers. All of this is nasty. Then the destroyers are just ugly for this boat. You've got a V170, so superior boat to this one. The Wicks in particular, nasty to run against. Just deep, just better gunboats in general. You got a Valkyrie. Honestly, I know next to nothing about that. I don't play low tier very often. Uh, but it's the Royal Navy destroyer, and the enemy team has a G101 in and of their self. So, going into the matchmaking, um, for starters, this is the first game I've ever played in this boat. I bought her back. I wanted to make this as close to a fair assessment for somebody grinding the boat. Now, what I did there, it's a new boat. I haven't played with these guns. What I always do, I always take a test shot, and I'm looking to check the trajectory. How high do they arc? Shell travel times. What can I expect out of these guns before I ever get close to actually needing them? And you're actually going to see me tweak my setup that I'm using over the course of the game to get better performance out of my guns, because the shell speeds are so slow, the arcs are so slow that my usual settings don't work, and you're going to see me compensate for that. I'll talk about it when I get into it momentarily. um, but G101, she's a hybrid just like all the other German destroyers. I'd say, probably 70% torp damage, maybe 60, 30%, 30 or 40% gun damage. Um, what I'm doing right here, the enemy team has pushed heavily up into the cap. If you look, they've got Phoenix, they've got a couple Phoenix, they've got much faster cruisers than we've got a couple St. Louis. Our South Carolina is already fleeing for his life. Uh, I don't have high hopes for this game already, but I wanted to, you know, give you guys a good idea of how to play this because it was requested on the forums. Right there, you see the first shot just way, way behind. Now, to note, take a look at my positioning versus the Izyaslav. I'm going to pause it right here because this is important. This is Yaslav. His positioning, I don't really even need to look at him. He's smoked up. So he's smoked up. He's bow into the enemy. Now, the distance of tyranny. Look at their support for the enemy DDs. They've got cruisers right up there, right next to the cap. You look at our cruisers. You look at our battleships. You know, it's not even close. Not even close. And this is telling us how aggressive that we can play as a destroyer player. And this Izyaslav, in my opinion, should already be turned back and kiting back. I haven't, really smoked up because number one, this is a really small destroyer. It's hard to hit. It's one of the perks to these lower tier or the low tier German destroyers. Um, so you're not the easiest target. You're gonna see that, over the course of the game. Um, but if I smoke, there's nothing here that's going to spot these guys. These guys can push right into us. So I'm kind of in a predicament where I can't smoke. So instead, I'm just going to kite away, just try to keep these guys spotted. and just delay until, we get actual support up here. These St. Louis's are much slower than the Phoenix. They take a long time to get here. They do have good firepower, but you got to wait for them to push up. So just looking at me, just playing safe, playing cautious. Don't want to trade a bunch of my hit points right now. I'm concerned about the Izyaslav. He's been sitting still too long. I think he's going to get torped, or, in my opinion, probably torped. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm up on the map border. I want to cut back into the cap, but my guns are on the wrong side of the boat. So you're going to see me slam on the brakes. And what I'm doing by doing this, I'm killing my forward speed. So if this destroyer is sitting out here, or traveling slightly away, I'm not going to run into him. He's basically going to run into me. I do have my smoke still that I can use, and this Izyaslav, he's moved. That's telling me that his smoke is most likely run out. And I'm just doing some spotting here, and here's the wicks. And you're going to see, I'm not, this is the usual setting I have with the dynamic crosshair. I see 2 DDs, I instantly smoke up. A fight with this Wix is pretty sketchy from the get-go. So, a Wix and the Valkyrie, no thank you. I'm just going to straight disengage. Now, I'm expecting that I got torped from the Wix, so I'm just rotating targets because I get more of my guns on this Valkyrie than I would the Wix. So just trying to chunk down both of these destroyers the best I can. My smoke's starting to run out. These German smokes don't last a long time. Unfortunately, whiffing there. And just going to follow up that with torps into his smoke screen. And the purpose for that is I want to deny that guy the ability to sit there and try to farm our St. Louis. Now, I'm a little curious why our team, just looking at the spawns, why we spawned in with 2 tier 3 cruisers on this side of the map, and the enemy team has 2 tier 4 cruisers. It's a big firepower difference between a Phoenix and a St. Louis, in my opinion. This Wix is pushing aggressive. It's low tier. You can expect this guy's going to keep trying to chase. And I'm just going to kite back. This guy is chasing me right into my support. More than happy to, help be bait and bait this guy into the fight. I did get a quick picture on this Valkyrie. You can see that fire went to work on him and left him pretty crippled. And at this point, I don't like this. I'm sailing broadside to these cruisers. This is a really good shot for them. They're not being really accurate right now. But this is where I'm going to get frustrated with my guns, because this guy should be dead already. And I'm just not, my guns are not clicking. And it's telling me that my setup is wrong. And what I'm going to do later on in the game, you're going to see it. I'm actually going to zoom out a click further. Now, right here, moment in time, pause. If you noticed what I tried to do, number one, I was kiting back. And I talked earlier about running the stock gunfire control system. The reason why I run that on ships with, high arcing guns like this is this reason right here. If I was running the upgraded gunfire control system, this destroyer might be spotting me. These guys would be close to spotting me. But by having my gun range reduced down to, 8.2 kilometers, as soon as that guy died, I instantly dropped off. And that's something that you should really consider with boats that particularly you have you know short duration smokes with a long cooldown. You've got the worst smokes in the game, um, especially at lower tier. You don't get a lot of time to actually use them. Um, so you wanna try to use those smokes, save them for like the important events, and by reducing your gun bloom footprint, you're actually improving the survivability of the boat. Because let's face it, you're not going to get into a gunfight with, a Phoenix at 8-9 kilometers. You're not really wanting to pick a fight with this DD at 9 kilometers because your shells just are not going to reliably hit damage. The only time your guns are going to have reasonable performance is when you're shooting at battleships at those ranges. You can with a little work, you can probably hit these cruisers pretty reliably, but these cruisers, they've got so much more hit points than you. I mean, he's got more than twice the hit points I do, plus, probably easily twice the DPM that I do. It's just not a fight that you want to pick, you know, straight up. Um, so I'm looking again at the mini-map. Surprise, surprise. And I see these two St. Louis's. They've basically committed. They're pushing in. There's not a lot that I can really do to help these guys at the moment. I've got a G101 spotted up here. Now this could be is this a smart move or not? You know, just giving up the CV and the battleship for dead. The battleship, I'm convinced, he might as well be a bot as far as I'm concerned. Um, I think the CV is just new, um, but in this day and age, losing your CV is pretty painful. So I'm I'm trying to circle back and actually um, try to save these guys from this G101. We are 3 ships down, so I am worried about, being able to, um, pick these guys up and, equalize on kills and be able to, save as many ships as I can. Now, I do make a little miscalculation here um, on this Phoenix. These things are a lot faster than I remember. So I should have been going much sooner than that. Honestly, this boat is not very fast. I don't have a speed flag on it. It's tier 3. Who cares? Um, but you can see just how fast that Phoenix is. Now, this is really where that South Carolina should be knocking the piss out of him. But it's not happening. My torps force him to turn broadside. That's a dove strike right there for the South Carolina if he's, even remotely awake. I see that he's not, so I'm just going to smoke up. He's actually shooting HE and missing. But I'm just going to use this as a damage dealing opportunity uh, because we need to get damage on these guys. It needs to happen. I switched to AP here, expecting good things, but these things are so lightly armored that it's, ugh. Even German AP just flies right through them if you're not hitting belt armor. So a little bit of a lesson there. Aim for the waterline with AP on Phoenix. It's just too um, it's just too crap and calculated. Figured you guys would like that. He was spotted the whole time, so. Now the G101 is pushing up. I think, and you guys might begin to notice now with that Phoenix engagement. I actually have zoomed out at this point, a click beyond what I normally do. Yeah, my reticle's set at 25. It's just a standard dynamic crosshair for those curious. But you're starting to see better hits. Yes, I am pretty close to him, but you know, even better hits on the Phoenix when he's kiting out. So that sucked. I aimed that too high. That was my fault. The lower tier destroyers, they're pretty low slung in the back, and it's difficult to land consistent hits to their stern and midship. I mean, you take a look at the profile of the wicks. Now here, it's do or die at this point. You know, this team is folding, and I'm just throwing shots out there. CV does a good job spotting the wicks, and you know, I'm just going for broke here. The wicks is distracted dodging torps. It's giving me an opportunity to keep working on this guy. He's starting to shoot at me. That's not what I want to see. But by this point, I've got him worked on enough I can pick up the kill. And at this point, if it feels like it's been a marathon, you goddamn right. Now, in this video, I can't remember how high that Valkyrie's HP was. I remember that he was pretty low, but I'm pretty low myself. So rather than go pick a fight with him, I go and I start pushing the battleship. And I'm pushing the battleship simply because that really is the bread and butter for this thing. You're much better off killing battleships than you are fighting enemy destroyers. So, you know, why not? I see that this battleship is pushing in. Honestly, he should go to B, but the issue is he's taken, just like my South Carolina, he's taken so long to get across the map that he's no longer in a position to be relevant. And I'm just launching torpedoes based on, you know, where this guy is turning. You know, just basically taking a lead. I'm not familiar with these torps. You know, I know that Nassau is slow as hell. And right here, I'm taking a look at his guns. His guns are pointed in this direction. And I see he's starting to turn this way, so I'm just going to go for broke and push him. I've still got 40 seconds left on speed boost. And by turning in this direction, I'm just making it hard for him to get his guns on me. That was his front main battery. I'm switching to AP. Should get better performance out of it. But the torps end up doing their job. And right here I'm looking, and it looks like I did have the HP that I could have picked that fight with the Valkyrie. But by taking out the Nassau, it shaves more points off the enemy team, plus it puts me closer to the cap. There's a St. Louis there protecting our CV. He really should be able to rush that Valkyrie and just kill him. I mean, St. Louis has DPM for days. I would just turn right around and just sail like this and just pin this guy into the map corner. As soon as his smoke runs out, you know, he's done. The enemy CV, last I saw, looked like he might be pushing C-cap. So I'm thinking there might be an opportunity to try to shave more points off by killing the CV. But I don't have high hopes because they've already capped A. The Freon is already turning around south, and you know this whole thing is just a death squad to me. There's nothing I can really do to fight that. I know this game's lost. At this point, I've been playing basically for my score for a while. Uh, I'm trying to relay to the CV. Just spot the damn destroyer. Just take your plane. Yes, you're dead. You've got 3 minutes to fly around. Spot the destroyer for, a minute, and then fly out and do your strike. Whoop-de-doo. Um, it's not rocket science. Instead, he's just throwing his planes away. We do get lucky that this St. Louis does kill the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie probably just looking for extra damage, just throwing a ship away. Um, Whatever, I'll take the extra few seconds that it's going to provide us and go to work on this CV. And at this point, 944 points. I'm not 100% confident that St. Louis is going to be able to kill him, so I'm just launching my torps from here. I know that this Langley might be able to dodge him. I'm just in a race for damage at this point, as fast as I can. And you can see, I mean, with the new reticle settings, I'm getting pretty consistent hits. Yeah, I am fucking under 3 kilometers at this point, but I've been shooting further in. So, uh, land 2 torps, finish off the CV. That is my Confederate and high caliber. And not even going to bother flipping on my AA. So just pushing up here. Gonna try to throw some torps out, see if I can just get some additional torps out. I know I'm gonna get spotted here. Honestly, kind of don't care. There's not much I can do at this point, other than just delay and maybe try to land some additional torps. So just gonna get small, start kiting. Uh, I'm not shooting at this point. I want to stay focused on dodging to the best of my ability. The only thing I could shoot anyway is the Phoenix right behind me, and by doing that, I'm taking my focus off, 3 other cruisers that have more of a broadside shot. Unfortunately, the Phoenix is able to dodge my torps, and I'm just kind of like, screw it, and that's the game. So the high points of this destroyer, the torpedoes, the guns are fairly decent if you get used to the slow shell speed, the arcs. The AP could work. You're just going to need to be really selective about how you actually do it. I'm second on base XP out of all the ships in the game. That's, usually a fairly decent game. And, here's the damage. Uh, the low points, the slow shell speed, you're not going to be plinking at things at long range unless it's things like battleships and cruiser or battleships and carriers. Um, so this is a boat that I would be running, like I am right now. The stock gun fire control module. The captain on this is I basically just printed off a 3-point captain. Had I think preventative maintenance and last stand. That was it. I again wanted to make this, as realistic as possible, and it wouldn't serve anybody's purpose if I moved a 19-point captain or some other really high point captain over to a tier 3 ship. Nobody, when they're grinding these a tier 3 has a captain on that, unless it's a ship that they're just looking to seal club with, and that kind of defeats the purpose of the intent of this video. talking about the damage, um, decent amount of gun damage. I was shooting a lot, um, but you see, you know, it's more of a hybrid build. You're all right. You want to come here? Okay. His TV show ended. Hold on. There we go. Um, so when you're playing these things, people that are just saying, "Oh, play them like a torpedo boat." If I would have done that, I would have left a sizable chunk of damage on the table. I mean, you do the math. It about cuts my damage in half. So don't neglect your guns. Every destroyer in the game in these days, you need to be using the guns. I mean, even some of the worst Japanese destroyers, as far as their guns, Mutsuki, Isokaze, those ships that have really really difficult guns to use can still add easily 20-30% of your damage if you're using them consistently over the course of the game. So don't buy into the, oh, it's just a torpedo boat. You know, if I just tried to just use my torpedoes, uh, this game would probably be you know, sub 25,000 most likely, because I never actually would have been able to get close enough to take out the battleship, take out the carrier. Um, Everything else would just be, you know, if I got lucky with a torpedo or something hitting, a DD or a cruiser. And that's no way to play these games. So, get that notion out of your head right away, because it's not going to serve you at low tier, and it's damn sure not going to help you at high tier. So, gonna cut this one off. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will talk to you guys later.